Just before this starts, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Alex for letting me use the footage and for handling the entire thing like a professional. It was awesome to work with you. Also, a huge shout out to Clayton and the rest of Fadecon. Alright, enjoy.
All right, everybody. I want you to help me give a warm welcome to Andrew Hulshult. I think I've got that right, yeah? Yeah. The Hulshult, not this part? All right, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And we've also got Terry here from Apogee, and they're going to be giving a bit of a presentation.
Thank you.
on music and Gibbs and all the things in between. So guys, go ahead and take it away.
Right on. Hello, Fadecon. How we doing? Are you jamming your ass off on some Quake or, I don't know, Blood? Does anybody have Blood fired up? No, nobody.
I got Blood CM.
Maybe Rise of the Triad? No, it's all Overwatch. So, my name's Andrew Hulshult. This is Terry Nagy. He's one of the owners for Apogee Software. He's here hanging out with me today.
Yeah. By the way, did everyone get a chance to download Radical Heroes that I posted on the Fade? All right, cool. That's great.
So also one quick thing, if there's any questions after this, I do have 3 physical copies of IDKFA left over that I will give to people who ask questions that are worth a shit. And I also have some codes. Yeah, no. Like if they're funny, you're good. It's all good. The more humor, the better. I've also got codes for a game that I'm working on called Dusk, and I've got some OST codes that I'll give away as well. So, but let's get on with what I want to show to you guys. So, my name's Andrew Hulshult. Thanks for having me again. I've been working in the game industry for about 6 years professionally. The guy to the right of me, Terry, was actually the person who gave me my first professional gig with Rise of the Triad doing their music. And Lee Jackson gave me their blessing with it. What I want to show you real quick is just a quick montage of a couple games, or a handful of games I've worked on and done the soundtracks for. So here we go. Pay attention to the screen.
That's me. Oh, I shot myself. Great.
All right, so that's a handful of titles I've worked on. That's Rise of the Triad. That's the 3D Realms Anthology, Bombshell, Dusk, and Rad Rodgers. And there's a few more unannounced ones there that I'll get in like 6 months, but for now we're going to talk about these. So how it started with the game industry was I was with a company called Interceptor Entertainment that we were working on a game called Duke Nukem 3D Reloaded that we were actually trying to get published at the time with Gearbox because they give a green light to it, but it's somewhere along the way we had kind of we had some difficulties back and forth, and they wanted to kind of put a hold on the project, probably for reasons for DNF. You know, it's understandable for sure. For marketing positions, but after that happened, we were all kind of just hanging out. To back up, that was about 6 months worth of work, 6 to 8 months worth of work, and after that happened, we were like, well, what do we do now? And I didn't know it at the time, but Fred had been talking back and forth with Terry about working on Rise of the Triad, because Terry had. Did you email him? Or did you?
Yeah, I sent him a text over Facebook, and then I also reached out on all different types of social media trying to get a hold of him, and he saw every one of them and he responded, and basically we started the ball rolling on Rise of the Triad and getting Dave Oshry involved, and then of course I met you over here at Houlihan's.
Oh yeah, that's right. Me and Terry first met whenever I showed up over at Houlihan's about 5 miles down the street. And I show up, and it's really cold, and I'm wearing like something like this. And I'm like, okay, this guy owns a game company. I don't know anything about this. So he's sitting outside, so I'm just going to sit there and pretend like I'm hard. And I'm freezing my ass off, and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. He's like, you want to go inside? And I'm like, yeah. So we talked that night, and he's like, hey, you know, let's go over what we need to do first for the music, which was going down the fast way. Hit that out, and we'll see if you're right for the job, essentially. Like kind of like a demo kind of thing.
That was essentially right, because I had no idea who you were, what you could possibly do. So we had to try something out, and I said, as long as you're open to open criticism, I think we'll be doing okay.
It was very open criticism. So one of the things that I had to do for the first part was impress these guys, which was remake Going Down the Fast Way, right? So if you've ever listened to the original version of that song, it doesn't sound super complex. It sounds like, oh, okay, it's just like some dun 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 dun, just some notes building on top of each other, and then just a lead play afterwards. It sounds somewhat complex towards the end, but the very beginning doesn't sound too hard. But man, whenever you get in there, it's pretty difficult. I got a 6-string baritone guitar at the time, and just started kind of hammering away and building drum riffs on top of that. And so the first mix I sent him, I was like, this is feeling pretty confident. This will pretty much knock their fucking socks off. You know, no problem. I can cuss, right? Okay, this will knock their fucking socks off. And Terry comes back to me and says,
I told him it sounded like a diarrhea of music.
So I was kind of crushed. I was like, oh, cool. I just made a diarrhea of music. Amazing. So where do I go now? So I talked to him and Fred, got a little bit more advice on what exactly they were looking for and what they didn't like about it, which was mostly the low end, which is where the diarrhea comes into play. And rebuilt something, and when I came back with a second and third mix, they really liked it. And that's the one that stayed with the game. That's the one that we used for the trailer and QuakeCon, all that good stuff. So Going Down the Fast Way was a learning experience for me, for sure, because that taught me, okay, now that you've got this built up, you've got something like 48 tracks running for this song that probably shouldn't have 48 tracks running. It should just have a couple guitars, a drum, and a synth, but you've got all this stuff open for like, you know, transitional effects and automation and all this other crap. It taught me what I'm going to have to do for the rest of this soundtrack, and learning how to build songs off of that template. That template going down the fast way was used for every single song afterwards. On what levels should the drums be, what levels should the guitars be. I wrote them down. I've actually still got the notebook, at least I hope I do after the move. But I wrote them down and said, okay, this is what we got to do, this is how much you compress everything, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I could go into detail about that, but that's not this talk. That's an audio talk, like in depth. So I got the gig after that. I got the gig to do Rise of the Triad after that. And I was super stoked. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what's happening right now. I'm actually about to go work like with a game company. This is not what I signed on for the first time I thought. I was just, you know, I was like, cool, I'm making music for these developers. Like, they like it, cool. And now I'm working as a composer. So that was kind of crazy. And so we built about 4 or 5 more songs, and then we headed over to QuakeCon, which was what I didn't know would be one of the most pivotal points in my entire life. Like, it's one of those moments where you show up. I didn't know. I'd never been to a QuakeCon before 2012. A shame on me. And I showed up, and I was immediately just like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on, because what happened next was pretty crazy. Because I was familiar with everybody from id Software, but the guys who introduced us was kind of nuts. And here's another video.
Hey, before we even get started with that, we actually have the first surprise at QuakeCon 2012. I've got a super secret announcement that's just about to be made.
Nice hair.
To do that, I want to introduce some friends from Interceptor, starting with Dave Austri. Dave, are you out there in the audience?
Please! No, don't shoot! Yeah, how's that?
That's more like it, huh?
While he finds the music, let me just quickly brief how you know I found Andrew.
Yeah, how does a guy from Denmark find a guy from Dallas who makes metal music?
When I did Duke Reloaded, I wanted the best possible version of Grabback in that game, and I've seen some of Dave's stuff on YouTube, and Dave contacted me, and that was absolutely awesome. I told him I've seen your stuff on YouTube.
Not Dave, Andrew.
Sorry, Andrew. And,
Just zoom in on that sexy ass face.
And Andrew decided to join us, so we gave him a small test task of doing
Jesus Christ.
And we wanted to implement.
They're zooming in on the guy that's not talking.
To see if this guy free hands, what can he do? And that track came out absolutely amazing. And he did all the music for Reloaded, so it was just natural to have him work on this game. You know, as soon as we signed the deal with Apogee, I told Dave, okay, Dave, we golden, you know, first track going down the fast way, and you know, he just kicks ass. We are about halfway through the track list of the game, and each track just gets better and better and better.
So essentially, what happened was, and I know the volume was a little low, I showed up to this thing, and I'm having a really, really, really fucking rough time with life at that point. I think you remember that. I was having a really, really down point in my life where just shit wasn't going my way, and I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. You know, it's just one of those pivotal points in life. And so we show up to QuakeCon, and I'm like, cool, this is a huge hotel, like, great, awesome. Oh my God, there's people that are stretched around the corner because like that was the year that they couldn't get people in for almost 18 hours. Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Okay, every year. So it was nuts. I was like, all these people are here just to play games and just hang out. Like, this is pretty badass. And then the reception that we got whenever we showed off Rise of the Triad, I mean, like, for me, I like, that was nuts. I was like, oh my gosh, something that I'm a part of. All these people are going crazy over. Like, this was a drug. Like for sure, right off the bat, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And so that was cool. But then for them to be cool enough to, while we're hanging out upstairs in the hotel, to say, hey, we're going to go down and do a QA panel. You want to be part of it? I was like, okay, awesome. Yeah, let me comb my hair real quick, because that epic face zoom is going to make Clayton moist. So after that, we went through, and Terry gave me a bunch of advice back and forth. And life's just started getting better and better, because I was able to just create music for these guys, and it was just fun. Like, it was fun to do the Rise of the Triad soundtrack. That's one thing that I don't know a lot of composers can say at the end of the day with their jobs, is like, that was fun. Like, there's a lot of things that suck ass, and they're hard. Like it's you to get over those barriers. Like, just back and forth, just demo after demo after demo. It sucks, but like working with Terry and working with Fred and Dave, that was awesome. I'd love to do it again. Like, sign me up, like, for sure. But at the end of development, we went ahead and after that whole experience, I learned to use negative energy for me in a positive way. And that was my biggest takeaway with that, was using the negative energy I had going into QuakeCon and like nothing's going my way, and using it in a positive way for the ROTT soundtrack. Like, that was a big life lesson for me, and that's one of the reasons I feel like that soundtrack came out so well. But we went through, did the rest of the soundtrack, released it in 2013, and that was another just totally crazy, awesome experience. And I met a lot of cool people after that, back and forth too. But let me see where I'm at real quick. So we got done with that, and ROTT was a success, pretty much. Yeah, it was totally a success. Like, it made its money back and then some. Like, it just worked for everybody. So what we had, people liked, for the most part. Some people don't. It's all good. It's your opinion. But not you.
Talk about the accolades you got from all the musicians that contacted you.
Yeah. Herman Lee from Dragon Force got a hold of me and was, like, that was stuff that like made me go, what is going on? Like I didn't know what planet I was on. Herman Lee got a hold of me and was like, hey, I really like the soundtrack, blah, blah, blah. And now we just talk back and forth. Like, every now and then he gets a hold of me. Like, whenever Dragon Force was here, I think last year, he just hit me up on Facebook Messenger. He's like, hey, come up to the dressing room. We got a bunch of beers. We'll just hang out. And I'm like, well, okay. I took a screenshot of it with my girlfriend. I was like, hey, what are you doing tonight? This is what I'm doing. But yeah, it's crazy. I had so many people just come up to me and just be like, hey, the Rise of the Triad soundtrack's really good. And I left it going, I'm happy with what I did, but I didn't know that it would have that kind of reception. I figured the game would just be like, the main takeaway. But like, more and more as it came about, like, the music was there right along with the game, is what I found. So it's kind of crazy. But I met a lot of cool people, and some of them were pretty cool. Like, all of them were pretty cool. Some of them were cool. Some of them sucked.
Some of them were cool.
Yeah. So this is us in 2012, right out front of QuakeCon, with right after we revealed Rise of the Triad, and the guy on the left was losing his mind because we were trying to get the website to stay up. He just couldn't keep it up. It was like something with the net code, right? Like, or the server just kept getting pinged.
Well, it was because, unfortunately, Fred wanted to have it hosted in Denmark, and it couldn't handle the load of everyone trying to go to the site. So then we had to migrate it over to the United States again, and then it still continued problems. So
I still feel like that smile is just like.
That's Eric, by the way.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Eric. That smile, I feel like, is just like, oh my God, someone go grab me a fucking beer. Like he was just dealing with shit all weekend. But Yeah, this was us in 2012. We went on to release it, like I was just saying. But after that, I got to meet some really cool people and have some pretty cool experiences as well, like just with working on different titles. This is me, Jerron Moore, and Scott Miller, just sitting down, having a burger. Like, that was pretty cool. This is this is me, Richard Gray, and Robert Atkins. You've probably played one of Richard Gray's levels, and you probably know of one of Robert Atkins' games if you haven't played it. Richard Gray worked on Duke Nukem 3D. He worked on some levels for, was it expansion packs for Quake? Yeah, and he also worked on Synth, and that's just to name a couple. He's also a super intelligent dude. Like, he's got a great sense of humor. This is me, Fred, and Mike sitting down with George Broussard. This was, I believe, right after Interceptor, or Mike rather, went off and bought 3D Realms, and so we got to sit down and just kind of BS with George for a night and just have some drinks and have some food. That was at the Hilton Anatole, at that steak place up top. That was cool. But one of the coolest things, and this is like so stupid, but like it's so dumb, but one of the coolest things for me was like I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast all the time. I love the Joe Rogan podcast. And while we were doing Bombshell, our marketing guy found a way to get on there. I have no idea. Josh Holland. He used to work on the Call of Duty stuff, like as their community manager. And so he took care of everything with that. And I guess at some point he had some kind of controversial Donald Sterling tweet, and Joe Rogan wanted to get him on. So Joe Rogan gets this guy on, and like this is what happens. And like all I need to do is hear my name. It's Joe Rogan doesn't even give a shit that like that my name just got said. But I'm just like, I'm sitting there in the morning and I'm like, oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. This is us in 2015 at QuakeCon releasing the Rise of the Triad soundtrack and doing signings with it. Yeah, there's a couple more photos, sorry. This is us and this is me and Dave Oshry and Dave too, I like to call him, David Saminsky, doing the Dusk reveal at QuakeCon last year, which was fun. We also did the IDKFA signing there. And this is the line for signing the ROTT OST. Like, but this was the Joe Rogan
video,
thing.
Jamie. Go to bombshell.com.
If you scroll up, it's the top one at the here, right? A little bit down to that middle one.
All right, here we go.
Yep.
Go full screen.
The PAX trailer? Or is
yeah, the PAX one.
All right. Hit that bitch and go full screen.
I also love our music. We have an incredible composer in our game. His name's Andrew Hulshult.
As you can see, yeah, like it's cool. I get mentioned there. It's by our PR guy, of course. You know, and Joe Rogan's like, yeah, just fucking get on with the trailer, please. I don't have time for this. I need to go get high. But that was cool. Like, and I enjoyed that because I get up every morning and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is crazy. Moving on. After ROTT, one of the things that I needed to just kind of pretty much keep together was how my mixes worked and how polished I can make them. I knew ROTT sounded good. I wanted to make it better like anybody would. You know, like you have craft, somebody likes it. Okay, cool. How do we improve upon this moving forward? So there was about a 4 or 5 month period there, probably 4 months, where there was no work. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, whatever. I can figure this out. I can find mixes to work on, or I'll just make my own music. But then I thought, that's kind of boring if it's not going into something. I'd rather have something that I can share with people. So I started going through my GOG library and my Steam library and going, okay, what's some cool old school titles that I can pick stuff up off of? And the ones that came to mind were like Command & Conquer, Red Alert, Quake 2, God, what was the other one? Duke 3D and Doom. Those are the 4 I landed on where I was like, okay, I can do some cool music for this. Like, I'll just try and update it, and let's just see what it sounds like. Maybe it sounds like shit. Maybe I hold on to it. Whatever. End of the day. And I just took the mixing techniques I had with ROTT, and just as I'm going through, the kick drum needs to be a little bit more, have a little bit more, bass in response on it, a little bit more hit on it. Maybe I need to compress it and throw a limiter on there, like an L2 or something. Sounds crazy, but it does work. Instead of dual tracking the guitars. Maybe I need to quad track or even hex track, like 3 guitars on a side all playing the same thing. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, go to the right speaker. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and then we'll have leads in the middle. Stuff like that was what these covers started telling me, and putting synths in the middle of it as well. So what started coming out, I started just uploading to YouTube, and this is a few of them. So yeah, like just a few there, like Duke 3D, Quake 2, Command and Conquer, like I was saying. There's also another one on my YouTube page. I don't know if anybody's familiar with KKND, Crush, Kill, and Destroy. That's an old school game that I did some stuff with as well. Essentially, I started kind of getting my mix chops up from that, and once I was comfortable, I actually got approached for another project, which the next project that released was the 3D Realms Anthology, which was right up my alley. I was already covering tunes that were old school game music, and New 3D Realms got a hold of me, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to essentially take these 9 songs and what they called re-orchestrate them." I was like, "That's the most cheese dick thing I've ever heard," but that's okay. Terrible. Yeah. So the 3D Realms Anthology re-orchestrated, not my words, but I love it. It's awesome. Like it came with 40 games from what they developed to what they published. It was a cool pack. It was $40. I think it'll make its way back to Steam maybe in the future. I don't know. That's their stuff. But it came with a soundtrack that was super cool. Like I redid the Shadow Warrior theme. I redid Star Gunner. I redid Biomenace, which is weird because you listen to that and you're like, how do you do that? Like that was my main thing going into that, is you listen to that and it's like, it just sounds like low-end synth. What am I supposed to do here? Like that was a Skype call with Fred back and forth, was, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, I don't know. You're good at this. Okay. But we did the 3D Realms Anthology, and that got me a little bit more confident moving forward. Mixes sounded a little better. Some could have been better. I always think that about anything I work with, so whatever. If you like it, awesome. I didn't say anything. What I moved on to afterwards was a game called Bombshell. Now, Bombshell was 3D Realms' second biggest soundtrack for a game that they'd done. The first was Prey with Jeremy Soule, and I think Jerron Moore actually did some ambient stuff for it as well, which equaled up to like 2 hours and 50 minutes. So I was like 20 minutes shy of it, because Bombshell had like 2 hours and friggin' 30 something minutes. But Bombshell was a test for me. Everybody knows originally it was going to be a Duke game, and then that got scrapped, and then it became Bombshell. That's widely known knowledge now after the lawsuit. But, do we not know? Do we need to go over this? Originally, Bombshell was going to be a isometric Duke 3D game. Okay? Hey, man, could have worked, could have been cool, but then we had some back and forth with Gearbox on it, and rightfully so. Understanding now, I'm not in the entire legal aspect of it. I can't comment on anything like that. I can only tell you what it was, because I just make the music. But originally it was going to be a Duke game, then it got turned into Bombshell, and so we were like, okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and we'll run with this. And that was a crazy experience for me, because I was essentially told, hey, look, we want to make like a B-movie action game that's, of course, cheesy as hell, but, you know, it has some cool RPG elements into it as well. And essentially, we wanted to do like symphonic stuff and like big Hans Zimmer drums, but also incorporate in like the 7-string guitar for like boss battles and stuff like that, with like big, you know, taiko drums and timpanis, and, you know, everything just needed to sound big. So I get through this whole OST, and I really like it. I think it's okay. I don't think it's my 100% best work, just because there's so much of it, and like if you cut down and you just choose what you like, I feel like you can get better results that way. But we get done with it, and I'm like, cool, all right, awesome. It's really long, whatever, put it out there. So we put it out, didn't do super hot, you know, like that's common knowledge as well. But I will say that was totally a learning experience for me, and I feel like for the rest of the dev team. You aren't always going to be batting 1,000 when you come off something like ROTT that does super well. You're not going to hit a home run right off the top again. You know, it's just not going to fucking happen. You have to be able to get humble and start clawing at what you want again. You can't sit back and go, oh, okay, well, all right, right on, let's do this. You know, we got the money now. Like, it doesn't work like that. So that was a total learning experience. I still think it's an all right game. I don't think it's the best game that we've done, but I think it's an all right game. But that was a learning experience that totally humbled me moving forward. And what we moved forward to was actually something that pretty much uplifted me after that, which was, I'll just briefly go over it, Rad Rodgers, which was on Kickstarter. We did a Kickstarter and met one of our stretch goals for it, and they actually commissioned me to do a synthwave soundtrack, which I was like, oh, you know, at first they wanted it to be chip tunes. They wanted me to take like old Commodore chips and like figure out how to do it. I'm like, yeah, do you have any more money? You know, like that's gonna take me so long to figure out. Like, so what we did was I said, while we were going back and forth about that whole chiptune thing, is I was like, hey, you know, a couple friends of mine have been showing me this type of music called synthwave recently, and I'm really jamming into it. It's pretty cool. It's almost like metal meets synth meets the 80s, all wrapped up in a VHS wrapper. Like, it's super cool. So I took a shot at that and used stuff like Carpenter Brute and Laserhawk as what it should sound like for the most part, but still kind of kept it lighthearted in areas, but also kept it super dark in another, and really aggressive towards the boss stuff. And it came together super well. Like, the soundtrack is actually really good. So this is my first time trying that, and it came out okay. Like, people were like, hey, you did good. I'm like, thank God. You know, like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Yeah. So that was cool. And I'm super glad that we got to go after Bombshell and finish up that, so that everybody got to get some closure after that, and like have just some fun and release a game, and it gets good reception from it. So that was nice. What's that?
Did you have a video?
No, I didn't have a video for that one. This would have run on for like an hour and a half. So while Bombshell's going on, just let me rewind here for a minute. While Bombshell's going on, and we'll go ahead and jump straight into, you mind if I move here for a second? Move into IDKFA, which is one of the, yeah, will you hold on there for a second? Thank you. Which is one of the Doom community's, I'd almost say biggest OST releases, like from a mod perspective. Like, it's kind of nuts. I didn't think it would go nearly as far as it did. So while I'm working on Bombshell, or actually let me back up even before to Bombshell, which is whenever I was doing the 3D Realms Anthology and thinking about all those covers. When I landed on Doom, the first song I did for Doom was Sinister, just because I really liked Sinister. Sinister was awesome. The da-na-na-na-na-na-na. That was a really cool song that I enjoyed from the original game. And so I was like, okay, if I can remake this with strings, awesome. let's see how this comes out. And it came out really good. I uploaded it and gave it to the Doom World forums, and they really, really liked it. And they liked it so much that they kept asking for another one. And I was like, okay, well, you want another one? All right, let's see what's up next. And I started going back and forth between a few songs. And essentially, I got the idea that maybe I should do the entire Doom soundtrack. Maybe that would, like, spin some heads, and maybe I'd get a little bit more recognition of that. I'm hungry. I'm looking for people to, look at me. I make music. Hire me. So I'm super hungry at this point, and I'm debating on if I should do that. It's right around end of 2013, beginning of 2014, something like that. And I don't remember exactly why, but I'm talking to Lee Jackson on the phone at like 8 in the morning, which is, I don't know. I don't know why I am. And I remember asking him I said, hey, how do I get a hold of Bobby Prince? And he said, well, normally you can hit him up through Facebook or email. He's like, if you hit him on both, they'll probably get back to you faster. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll hit him up on both. He got back to me within a day, and I said, hey, have you heard any of the stuff that I've worked on back and forth? He said, no. And I said, okay, well, let me send you some stuff. And, there was only a few songs out at that point. And I said, let me send you some stuff, and I want you to, just whenever you get a second, call me back and tell me what you think. And so he calls me back. He's like, that's really good. So yeah, that's a really good job. The first thing I was like, I'm not taking any money for it, I promise. Like, I'm not collecting the ad revenue from YouTube from it, And he's like, no, you're fine. So I was like, okay, thank you. And I got to talking with him in depth, just on the phone for about 2 hours for 2 solid days. Like called him for 2 hours one day, 2 hours another day, just asking him about development questions during Doom and what his thoughts were on old school songs. So I'd pick apart these little moments where he'd tell me certain things, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. That's your idea there. That's your idea there. That's your idea there. And I won't go into those right now because I don't have his blessings on that kind of stuff, and I'd rather ask his permission before I share any of that information. But because some of it totally feels like NDA related stuff. Like I'm like, I don't think anybody knows that yet. Yeah. So, essentially, what I did is I took that and I was like, man, you just got done with all these soundtracks and now you're just doing this just for fun, IDKFA, and you just got to talk to Bobby Prince. Like, this is somebody that, as a kid, you were like, who's that? Because the music's cool. And so yeah, let's just go in whole hog and fucking do it. And so right after I got off the phone that point, I started on E1M1. I was like, I'm going to nail this out, and I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to hold on to it for a little while, just until I see what people's reactions are on the other stuff. And Terry had a little part on E1M1 as well, like whenever I was building it and sending you demos with it. And if you can change back over to the video music, I'll show you some comparisons between the two. So here's the original. Everybody knows this one. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to have that up while I'm talking about Bobby Prince. I'm an asshole. Here's E1M1, of course. Everybody's heard this. And then I took it and was like, okay, how do I do this? Came up with this. So yeah, that was one of the ones right after talking to Bobby Prince that I was like, okay, I've got to nail this one out. I'm full of, ideas. And I started hammering out the guitars with it, 2 left, 2 right. Actually, 2 different basses, believe it or not. There's one that's doing the high stuff, and there's one that's doing the low stuff. Just because I couldn't get it to sit correctly, because I wanted to smash it almost to where the kick comes up and it almost sounds like a dance mix, like it grabs the compressor and pulls the music down, and it came out just like how I wanted it to. But the cool parts of that song are closer, I mean, the whole thing's awesome, but closer towards the end, whenever I start putting in like the leads and everything, and like some of like the demonic sounds and everything. But going into the very first part of it, it's like I need to catch the listener's ear, and I need to figure out something that does that. So I found a couple of sample libraries that we use for trailers, and just sounds like this choir coming up and like just like rising and rising and rising, and then just I was like, I need something to hit there, and like at first I just had like this big drum hit. It was like, ding. I was like, oh yeah, that works. And then I sent it to Terry. He's like, no. It's like, oh, okay, all right, well, what do you think? He's like, well, Bobby was originally trying to make the game say doom whenever you hit. Yeah, doom.
Yeah, Bobby actually told me that the introduction song, when the game first loaded up, he tried to make it sound like it was saying doom. And he never could quite get it right. And so I remember that when Andrew came to me and said, hey, what can I do here? And I said, this is it. And he magically made it work.
Yeah, so that very beginning part of that choir comes up, and then I just had this gigantic synth just fall down, just went doom, like that. I was like, it sounds like it's saying doom. Maybe Terry's happy now. You know? So we got done with that one, and he was like, dude, that's awesome. All right, upload that. I was like, I'm going to save it for a minute. So held on to it for a little bit and then uploaded it later, and it became the video that's on every Doom playthrough now, ever. It's awesome. But the next one we went on to was Imp's song, which was has a lot of bass. But if you listen to the very beginning, there's some interesting characteristics in there. I'll just play the original and then mine once again. It is, and it's like this part, like I feel like that's completely overlooked at what's going on there. Everybody's like, oh yeah, cool, a synth. It's like, no, that's not what that is. So yeah, going into that, you can obviously tell that the bass in the original plays a huge part in that. It's like, yeah, dude, I'll just vocal karaoke here all day long. I don't care. And that plays a big part, but I felt like one of the things that was overlooked while I was doing that song was the very beginning of that. If you listen to it, that synth is absolutely the imp breathing down your neck. It's ding doom, but what it's doing is it's going ding ding. So it's totally just, it sounds like someone's actually breathing. So if you listen to the version that I made, I actually put in like what sounds like a demon breathing in the background with that synth.
Are you the demon?
I'm not the demon in that.
Okay.
I should have been. Yeah. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Just have my own like documentary with just, this is how I breathe into the mic in E2M1 or E1M2. But there was a sample library because I needed it to sound really good and really evil, and I'm not the best voiceover artist ever. Sebastian Chris in Rise of the Triad shows that very well with the but that part, nailing down that and having a big hit at the front was really important to me. The other thing that was super important was nailing down the bass line. What I thought for the bass is I was like, you can't just have dun 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 like now. Like that passes for sure in 93, 94, no problem. But because they had obviously limitations on what they could do, how many notes could be in a song because the file had to be a certain size moving into it. So I was like, who would be a cool bass player to put in the song? And I was like, Robert Trujillo would be a badass bass player for a song like this. So I modeled it after actually a solo that I saw him play on a live gig in Australia, and I was like, oh, look at that slap tone. It's like dan da dan da dan. He's just doing that, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. That'll work. Like, so I just modeled it after that and implemented it in, and it worked. It sounds awesome all the way through. It's like one of my most proudest moments with a bass song, like in any mix I've ever done. It's awesome. But after we finished that one, I went ahead and moved on to, gosh, what was it? It was Dark Halls. Dark Halls is probably one of my favorite mixes. Thank you, sir. Dark Halls is probably one of my favorite mixes because it taught me a bunch about creating depth and creating atmosphere. And for anybody who doesn't remember those songs, here's the original, here's the remake. Harmonize this thing, dude. So one of the things that was super important for me going into that is I could tell that it felt creepy. Like the whole song feels creepy, but it's got this really cool, like fun vibe almost at the very end of the chorus that's strange when it comes back around and falls directly back into itself. But I wanted to create an atmosphere that felt like it was in halls, like dark halls. So that what I did with the drums was I actually put I put the drums in a plate reverb, but I condensed it down to a hall. So the kick and the snare and some of the toms all sound like they're being played in a hall situation. It's hall reverb. But you have to listen to it. Like, I didn't want to pump that up in the mix. I still want it to be something that you can slam in the car and like, fuck yeah, you know, like not like, oh, atmospheric drums. You know, who wants to listen to atmospheric drums? So it still had the slam. So if you've got headphones on, you can totally hear that kick drum. You can hear that room of the kick drum whenever you put it on and the snare. It's there. So that was one of the cool things going in for that. But the other thing that was the biggest obstacle was that synth that goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that's moving forward like that, just like it's just constant. It's like the bass line, and having that feel like a rhythm. So what I did is I found a really kind of dirty spatial synth and had it do that, but rolled off all the high end so that it just sat in the mix and almost felt like a bass guitar, just kind of fake bass almost. And then I was like, well, how else could you make this cool? What else could we do that's moving? And so I plugged my guitar into a tremolo pedal, set it to the exact tempo of the song, and then had and that's actually a guitar that's going like that. It's not a synth on top of it. So what you're hearing is an actual guitar that's just sustaining itself out on those notes and just moving. And then, of course, on top of that, it's just a guitar going dun, 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 dun. But that song taught me a little tiny bit about how to build and how to structure certain things, because as that song goes on, it starts building onto itself, and then you get to a lead point, and then it falls off, and then you build the listener back up again to that point. So, I mean, that mix came out so good. I don't think I could replicate it in a million years. It just sounds perfect, and there's nothing I'd do different about it. I've got about, I think, 2 more tunes to talk about, I believe. Thank you, sir. 2 more tunes to talk. No, 3 more. The next one would be Suspense, which was a complete left turn on the entire thing, which is just strings on that. Okay, strings and drums. And at that point, I was working on Bombshell, so I'm like, cool, I'm working with strings every day, let's do this. And this one was super, super, super special because this taught me how to almost build trailers. It's kind of cool. Here's the original, and here's mine. So this is the original. I mean, obviously, I don't need to say that. Yeah, super good. It's all good. Let it fry it. Don't worry. Oh, yeah. And kind of what I was saying here, just leave it just how it is right here. Kind of what I was saying a second ago, how it taught me how to build trailers, was this whole song goes off of one line and just builds on itself and builds on itself and builds on itself. But there's always that violin that's going dun 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 dun, but it just keeps building, right? And you get to a certain point, and I'm like, what would be a cool band to put in this place? Because I just feel like you can't build anymore on the structure of just timpani and orchestral. So I was like, who would be cool? And I remember asking one of my friends after we were out at a bar. I was like, what would go cool with this? And he's trashed, but he's like, fucking Rammstein, man. And I'm like, what are you talking? And immediately I was like, oh no, you're totally right. So after that came to this. I was like, this is how we take it to the next level. Kind of that signature Rammstein strings and guitar thing going on with just the drummer just hitting 4 to the floor. But yeah, that came out super cool, and that taught me almost how to build like trailers for games as well, because we were making trailers, and I was like, oh, all I have to do is just keep building, and if they've got certain points where they just want to, show off something, then I can just cut it out and do some kind of high cut and then put like a bass drop, this summer, boo, with that kind of shit. So ridiculous. The next one that taught me a little bit was the Demons from Adrian's Pen, which that actually taught me how to take synthesizers and make them sound enormous, make them sound deep, give them big stereo images. Rather than just the doot 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 from the original, I took that and actually plugged it through about 6 different instances of what's called contact, and they all house their own individual synthesizers, and they all have 2 oscillators built into them for everything that I was doing, and I would just manipulate until I found something that I liked. And so that is what ended up working for it. But here's the original, and here's the remake. Oh yeah? Tornadoes. No, just thunderstorms. Just about to pass over us. It's those big hits, man. Those big hits. So yeah, like those big hits and everything, that's all just synth. Like everything's sound designed synth. Like, and I didn't make some of it. Some of it was presets because, it's a lot of work. But a lot of it I actually made with, like, just by myself. The last one that I want to show off to you guys, and then I'm gonna give away some codes, and also, like I was saying, well, I've got one more game to show off after that, but If you stick around, 3 best questions. I have 3 physical copies of IDKFA that were all supposed to be gone that I told everybody, yeah, they're all gone. Sorry, I can't ship it. Yeah, I've got 3 more here, so if you got
if nobody's seen it, actually, could you hold the inner jacket art up to the camera, too?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We'll Vanna White it. Yeah.
There you go.
Because the inner jacket. I mean, the outer jacket's great, too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. There you go.
It's fucking rad. I love that.
That's all artwork done by my buddy Jeremy Meggert that I commissioned them to do. I was like, I don't want just the Doom and Doom 2 logos. I was like, let's have fun with this.
Yeah.
But I got those and some codes. But the last one that I worked on was so easy. It was deep into the code, which is, it's Slayer, let's be honest. Like, that original song is totally Slayer. So that I just felt right at home. I was like, cool, this is Slayer. I'm going to make it super heavy. I'm going to make it hit super hard. And by that point, a couple guys from id Software had gotten a hold of me and said, man, we didn't know you were local. We got to go out and we got to have some beers. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, guys from id are hitting me up like, can I come work with you? So I'm like crazy. Like, this is nuts. This is nuts. And apparently I was on the principal. I can't remember, but I know at least 2 or 3 guys there. I was on their playlist while they're working, and that meant something to me, Like, I'm just a fan having fun, and these guys reached out to me. They were like, we can't believe you're local. Like, you do awesome stuff. Holy shit. And like, we just want to have beers and just shared stories, and awesome. It's great stuff. But that was going into this. Like, I felt just awesome about going into this. I was like, awesome, cool, I got this. And then here's the original, which is totally Behind the Crooked Cross by Slayer. And then here is mine. Yeah. Gotta add the little accents in. So, like, by that point, mixes for it have gotten super strong and finished up the rest of the OST. It's a lot of fun. Some other side notes is, I forget which map it is, but the song that's actually in Doom called Untitled, Mick Gordon had reached out to me and originally wanted to collaborate on it. And I was like, oh, cool, awesome. But I think he had some time issues back and forth working with them, and I guess he's working on Prey now. So I didn't hear back from him. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's messed up. But yes, working with them, and so dude's doing arguably some of the most important work probably in his career. So like, I was like, okay, cool. So I just told him, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna go ahead and move forward and just do the stuff myself. If you get some time in the future, cool, hit me up. But I never heard anything back. It was strange. He reached out to me, and I never heard anything after that. But whatever.
It came out cool. If you ever see this, you're on alert. So
it came out cool. But like, I made 100 physical copies of this and took it to QuakeCon last year and just gave it away for free. Like, I just money out of my own pocket. I was like, yeah, Doom fans like it. I'm gonna give it to Doom fans. And, I just want to be part of the community. I could never make maps, I'd never learned how to do anything 3D. So it's like, cool, this is how I give back. All right, cool, I'll do it. It's worth it, $400-500, whatever. Cool, let's do this. So I had 100 of them made and gave away a huge amount of them and saved some for my developer friends and people that I'd ship them off to. They was like, hey, you want a copy? So that was cool. All in all, this thing that was just supposed to be for fun turned into this crazy ride where I got to meet or I got to talk to Bobby Prince. I got to have plenty of interaction back and forth with John Romero about the subject. I got to meet Marty Stratton and talk to him, and honestly do some tequila shots back and forth. Got to meet and talk to Hugo Martin, and but I think the thing that was the most rewarding, honestly, was just the Doom community and the fans, and like how much they were willing to give back. Like, that was cool. Seeing how much they supported what I was doing, you can't repay that. You can't buy that either. It's just awesome. It just worked. And there's still, like, every day I log in, there's more comments on the YouTube section for it. I'm like, huh. And I just go through and I'm like, this is so cool. So it's awesome that I got to actually make something that people are just still to this day, new comment. They're still active about it. It's awesome. But that's IDKFA, and that kind of wraps up that. And then the next thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is on the subject a little bit more of Quake, and I'll just briefly go through it real quick. There's one more game I'm working on that's not out just yet. It's a game called Dusk, and that's right, Dusk. And it's a first-person shooter, very much in the vein of old school Doom, Quake, Blood, Redneck Rampage, Heretic, Hexen. Like, yeah, it's all of them combined. No. But it's in the vein of that, and it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to get this thing out there because the soundtrack for it, I convinced them to let me just go whole hog and go 9 Inch Nails with it. And 9 Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands, so I was like, oh yeah, okay, if you're gonna let me just do this, then fine, let's have fun. So that, and they're allowing me to just kind of have free roam. Dave Oshry and New Blood are the publishers, and they're kind of overseeing everything. They worked with I worked with Dave on Rise of the Triad. We worked together with him. He's a great guy, awesome. Have nothing bad to say about the guy. David Szymanski. No, it's not like have nothing bad to say about the guy. Like don't fire me. No, like he's a great guy. David Szymanski is the designer. It's a one-man team on this thing, and we're just giving him feedback, and he's just kicking ass. This guy just knows what he wants and knows what he wants it to look like, and he can just make it work. And it's cool. It's not too complicated, not too sophisticated. It just feels right. But what I want to do real quick is let y'all listen to a couple tracks from Dusk and kind of just give the people on YouTube too a sneak peek at it. And so the first one is going to be one that's more in the 9 Inch Nails vein. The second one's going to be a little closer to Meshuggah. But here we go. God, I need to stop dropping this thing. Here's the more Meshuggah stuff. So yeah, that's some of the music from Dusk that's taking some influence from like the Fragile and what was 1992, 93, 9 Inch Nails and yes, thank you, Broken. Yes, actually the guitars from that I matched to sound like Pinion from Broken, which is pretty cool. Like I just listened to that a million times and then figured it out and put it together. But yeah, like I'm super over the top of the moon excited about this soundtrack because it lets me just go crazy and really, really, really dark. But the last thing that I wanted to kind of show you guys was a little bit of gameplay that I got okayed for Dusk that they're going to be showing off at PAX South. But I was like, hey, let's show it at Fadecon, man. You know, it's what it is it's there's a mode called Endless that we have that's basically wave-based combat. See how far you can make it. And this is one of the newer levels we were working on. This is me playing. Oh, awesome. So I'm just sitting with the op in the corner. Yeah, no.
Camping.
Yeah, I'm camping, yeah. No, so this is me playing. I just captured it a couple nights ago, and I was like, hey, just let me take this with me. Dave's like, cool, yeah, go have fun. But this is some of Dusk. Here we go. Skeet shooting. Yeah. What everybody's thinking right now. And then I get destroyed. But yeah, it's just a little bit of what they're going to show off at PAX South. There's a full single-player campaign that's going to be broken up. I don't know how much I can talk about that right now, but it's going to be very, very, very old school, and it feels, I'll say from someone who's actually played it, feels really good, feels very late 90s game, playing through level by level by level. Oh, I can find these. Oh, I can do this. Oh, okay, cool. I can just go ahead and, strafe through the entire thing on this section. Like, there's all kinds of hidden gems here and there that we all remember from it, and it just plays really nice. But, yeah, that's about all I got for what I wanted to talk about. Does anybody have any questions, more or less, for... hands. Yes, sir.
Are there any bands or sounds that in IDKFA or other projects that you haven't been able to want to do?
That I haven't been able to?
Yeah, that you haven't yet to get to that you want.
What I was trying to do originally with IDKFA, honestly, was pull together kind of old school bands. So most of that stuff I was able to take care of, but there were moments where I was like, oh, you know what would be really cool here is to like put in like, Meshuggah or something. Like, I've got ideas in my head for Deep Into the Code. Let's take it down to A, like just tune it down and just jam. But because I wanted the whole thing to be really please the Doom purist, I kept it very, very, very close to the original, all of them. So, no, not so much, but I did have the ideas where I wanted to. There were moments where I wanted to get off the beaten path and just kind of, let's go have some fun. But, no, it's a good question. Here, yeah, dude, come grab a copy. Who else has one? Oh, gentlemen, back. You had your hand raised, simply.
Gentlemen.
For Rad Rodgers, there's a couple. Yeah, I know, right? It's like, you are the metal guy. What are you doing with synth music? For Rad Rodgers, there's a couple artists that are really, really groovy that you should totally go check out. One of them's named Carpenter Brute. It's like Carpenter and then B-R-U-T. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Otherwise, I sound like a scrub. And Laserhawk. And it just sounds like soundtracks you heard in like B-action movies in the 80s and 90s. But Carpenter Brute gets especially aggressive and starts sounding almost like, at times, thrash metal with some of the stuff. And it blew my mind when I was listening to it. I was going, oh my God, that's a synth. And that sounds like it's about to rip my speaker apart. Like, it sounds like a guitar. So that's two artists I would totally say, yeah.
If I could throw just one in here without getting too indulgent.
That's a good one too. Come get one, man. Come get one.
Magic Sword.
That's a good one.
Get Magic Sword.
Yeah.
Those guys are friggin' awesome.
Magic Sword? I need to check it out. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What are the biggest considerations you have to keep in mind when you're writing music for a video game? You know, maybe differs from game to game, but you know, the things that you have to keep in your head while you're writing.
Things I have to keep in my head while I'm writing a soundtrack. This can't be bad. This can't sound like shit. Yeah. Do you like eating food? Cool, make good music. No, some of the things is that I take into account with it, you really have to digest the project itself. If the game designer has a game design document, it really helps. So if you've got something that I can flip through or look on a PDF and go, okay, this is what the game about, and it's got maybe some visual design, like some artwork, stuff like that, I can digest that a lot easier because I can see what you guys are going for as far as artwork, and I can also see what your mechanics and what you're wanting to show off. Like, you know, a game that's super fast paced, I'm not going to sit there and just make ambient music for the most part. But also getting the art team involved, because, you know, a guy who's making concept art or 3D art, I don't just look at them as, oh, they're cool, they're another portion of the team. All right, right on. You do some cool stuff. Let me show you what I can do. I'm more like, let me get in your head for a second because you made this fucked up shit that I think is cool. So let's share some ideas. So I like to just kind of cherry pick from whatever team I'm working on and figure out the people that I'm super comfortable with, and then kind of build from there. And it'll be a mixture of ideas. Most of them come from my head, but the influences will come from the team. So that's the most part. Those are three really good questions right off the bat. Yeah, dude. Come get one. Don't worry, I still have codes.
You're easy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Thank you. Thank you. I still have some codes for Dusk. If you guys would like them, I have about 9 of them. Anybody got any more questions? Yes.
Have you had any LGF moments when trying to recreate a sound from the past?
Oh, like
how the hell did they make that sound?
Yeah, with ROTT, the door sound. When we were trying to get the doors to open and close.
Oh, right.
The doors to open and close in the original Rise of the Triad with sound design. When we were like, okay, cool, we just need to update the sound. And I was like, update a sound? Like, you know, this is my first introduction to the game industry. I'm like, update a sound? What are you talking about? Do we have the, you know, source files so I can take them from fucking 22 all the way up to 44.1? You know, what do you want to do? We had to recreate them from scratch and all of that stuff. And what that is if I remember correctly, that thing opening is from the Mike McDonough sound libraries, which is actually, you know, the door in Doom. That guy has done everything for 90s FPS shooters. Like, everybody bought that library and was like, we're just gonna buy this guy's library and we're all gonna just use it as doors, pick up sounds, like everything. Duke 3D is littered full of Mike McDonough's sounds, but Doom is too. But whenever we were going back and like trying to figure out how to make the sound again, yeah, that was a total pain in the ass, just with a door. I think after the door, I was like, do we have to update all these? You know? And after that, we just bought some libraries and we did them. I think we used something like some kind of gear that sounded like it was sliding, a hit on a barrel, and then some kind of synth to make it sound like when they were opening. But yeah, that sucked.
You ought to talk about the remember I told you about the raspy guitar from Battlestar Galactica Chrome and Blood and Chrome?
Yeah.
And then you introduced it into the Queen Mary.
Oh
Queen
yeah,
Mary,
that's
put it in
right.
the bass
That's
guitar.
right. I don't know what I could say about it though. Like
Yeah, you had to recreate it.
that is
for
true.
The bass.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the songs, "Funeral for Queen Mary," like did have something like that in the music side of it, where he wanted, thank you, where he wanted a specific piece of video that he had from Battlestar Galactica that was like, I think it was a music scene or it was a trailer. It was one of the two.
It's the trailer. It's the trailer. It's the very end of the trailer where Bill Adama's getting into his Viper and he's being loaded into the launch tube, and you can hear the theme of the Battlestar Galactica, Blood and Chrome, going on, and you hear the raspy guitar going, and I just absolutely love that raspy guitar. And I said, Andrew, you got to replicate this in a bass. And he's like, I'll try.
I think it took like 3 or 4 tries, but we nailed it out, and we put it in with "Funeral for Queen Mary." So that's another example with it for sure. But yeah, like I remember you were totally just like, you have to do this. It's like, okay. So yeah, that's a good one. If you can, I've got all the codes on my phone. Just come up to me afterwards. I'll get you a code. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I could barely hear you. Come on up here. Geez, that's a really good one.
You should repeat it for the...
Yeah. Okay. So what he said was, there's a lot of hardware and software that's working back and forth together in sound design and like with making music. How many times have you had, or what are your experiences, or how many times have you had something crash? I've never had hardware completely shit out on me, thankfully. You know, that's pretty much the way that it's what it's supposed to do, is just stay there. Software, every now and then I have it. I will say that the software that I'm using called Persona Studio One, that I've had very, very, very few crashes with. And I actually went from using Pro Tools to that right before Rise of the Triad. And they gave me an endorsement after the fact, which, yeah, that totally looks like, oh, okay, well, you're just pimping the DAW now. But no, like that, like still to this day, if it crashes, like if I'm one of those guys that'll push a session. Like I'll push it until I'll see CPU spikes. I like my audio sessions the way I like my computers. I like to push the shit out of them. So I'll put everything that I can into it until it starts to just go, help. So I'll get CPU spikes, I'll get RAM spikes, I'll get dropped RAM loads. But I will say the one DAW that takes care of everything with it, totally Studio One. Every time it's crashed, I've always been able to pull it up and get my master files back out of it, or just the session just works and it's just no problems. So software is the portion that fails more than hardware, of course, because you know you have so many different variables going on. You've got an interface plugged in. You might have 5 instances of a certain guitar program going on, along with a synth library, along with drums, along with like the Hans Zimmer collection of drums. It's like you're just taxing the shit out of your computer. So software is totally gonna just take a shit on you before anything else. But yeah, software goes before hardware. Hardware's never gone. Good question, but yeah, come see me for a code afterwards. Anybody else? Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, cool. Well, thanks for sitting through it, and like I hope this wasn't too boring. I appreciate y'all for sitting through it and giving me your time, and have fun at Fadecon. Thanks, everybody. Cool.
All right, next up.